Let's grab a seat.
I know.
Let's get a seat and get started. All right. Has anybody got any questions on where anything we've covered in the first 6 weeks? We've got 6 weeks under the belt already. Any questions? How about you guys that have worked on steps on something other than alcohol or drugs? Any questions? No questions? Don't be ashamed to ask a question. Questions are good. Okay. I think we left off on page 32, was it? Anybody know? 32?
We hadn't read that.
Huh?
We hadn't read that piece of the first step, the real first step. You skipped that paragraph.
Yeah, we're going to go back to that at the end of this chapter.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at here is, in this chapter, we're looking at the insanity of alcoholism, okay? And there's example after example after example. You want to make note of that.
What page are you on?
We're on page 32. And I think we're on the second paragraph. A man of 30 was doing a great deal of spree drinking. He was very nervous in the morning. So this is they're all different kind of examples, okay? He was very nervous in the morning after these bouts and quieted himself with more liquor. He was ambitious to succeed in business, but saw that he would get nowhere if he drank at all. Once he started, he had no control whatever. He made up his mind that until he had been successful in business and had retired, he would not touch another drop. An exceptional man, and make note of that word, an exceptional man. So he's not talking about me and you. Okay? An exceptional man. He remained bone dry for 25 years and retired at the age of 55 after a successful and happy business career. Then he fell victim to the belief, with practically every alcoholic has, that his long period of sobriety and self-discipline had qualified him to drink as other men. Out came his carpet slippers and a bottle. In 2 months, he was in the hospital, puzzled and humiliated. He tried to regulate his drinking for a while, making several trips to the hospital meantime. Then, gathering all his forces, what does that mean? Yeah, his self-will. Okay, gathering all his forces, he attempted to stop altogether and found he could not. Every means of solving his problem, which money could buy, was at his disposal. Every attempt failed. Though a robust man at retirement, he went to pieces quickly and was dead within 4 years. Now, this is a very interesting story. And this example is really unique, besides the fact that he was an exceptional man, that he could stay dry for 25 years. But so here's my question to you, right? Do you think that if he never stopped drinking, do you think he would have been dead in 2 years? Of course, we don't know. We can only assume, right? But so that's my question, though. Do you think he would have been dead in 2 years when how old was he when he retired? When he no, he was 30, a man of 30. So do you think if he didn't stop drinking, do you think he would have died at 32?
No.
Okay, and again, we can't know for sure, right? But so what does that tell us? If those of us say no, he wouldn't have died at 32. Now what is that telling us then? There's a very important message there.
The disease is progressive, whether you drink or not.
That's right. The disease is progressive. Very good. Because what happened is he stayed dry for 25 years. He didn't drink. You know, people share in meetings all the time. You hear people say, "Well, we're in the meeting. My disease is in the parking lot doing push-ups," right? Stuff like that. They share those kind of silly things. But the truth of the matter is, and that doctor in Houston, she proved this when in 1976. The truth of the matter is that our disease continues to grow even through our sobriety. So what's important here is to understand that though he was sober for 25 years, once he started drinking, in no time he was right where he left off, and in 2 years he was dead. Because inside his body, the disease had progressed 25 years. You get that? So I've been sober a little over 28 years, and I don't know what would happen if I had a drink, but I'd probably go to pieces pretty quick and be dead in a couple years myself, because my disease has progressed 28 years. And all of this time, my disease has progressed, even though I'm in sobriety. Does that make sense to you? So it shows, this highlights the physical aspect of this disease.
Danny,
Yes.
do you mean that your body continues to process what you did 30 years ago?
Yeah, because what this doctor proved in 1976 was, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, when she was doing autopsies on all these derelicts, and she found that they were all loaded with opium, morphine. They were all loaded with morphine. We're on 32, 33, guys, page 32, 33. So, that these people were all loaded with morphine, synthetic morphine, and she couldn't understand why these derelicts and how these derelicts their bodies were full of morphine, and where were they getting this money from. And what she discovered in her research was that a little brain attached to our brain started a growth, and that when they drank alcohol, and it went there, and instead of releasing the alcohol through our pores and our urine and how we release alcohol, it was going to this brain and coming back in our blood system as a synthetic morphine. And that this is why you get physically addicted to alcohol after a certain point. And so, but what she discovered was that she proved that this is a progressive disease. That even though we're not drinking, the disease is progressing.
So do you think now, if you died today and she did an autopsy on you, there would still be that morphine stuff in you now? Or just when you were in the alcohol?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know if I ever reached that. I know I'm a real alcoholic, but I don't know if I ever reached that point where I would have been, close to the DTs and close to that I physically needed it, But in my case, though I drank every day, and I drank a lot every day, I came to recovery because of cocaine. Cocaine made me realize I was an alcoholic. So I don't know the answer to that. But if you'd be a real alcoholic, yes, the answer would be yes to that.
You were out there that long that you never had DTs?
No, I never had DTs.
How lucky you were.
Did
Wow.
I never had DTs, no. And most people haven't.
Right.
Most people haven't. They may think they have because they had some medical complications, but when you're talking about DTs, you're talking about your brain deteriorating, and wet brain is another word for DTs, right? And if you've ever seen a real case of that, they're pretty shot. They start losing their faculties and their senses and stuff, and that's what real DTs are, So, we may have caused medical problems for ourselves, but it doesn't mean that we've suffered from DTs. Yeah. But the point is, this proves to me that, because we can all agree that the man wouldn't have died in 2 years if he had kept drinking. And again, we don't know that for sure, but we can all pretty much agree on that, right? It makes sense. Yet he was dead. So he says here on page 33, this case contains a powerful lesson. Most of us have believed that if we remain sober for a long stretch, we could therefore drink normally. But here is a man who at 55 years found he was just where he had left off at 30. We have seen the truth demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Remember last week we talked about being a pickle, right? So, once you're a pickle, you're always going to be a pickle. You're never going to be able to be a cucumber again. Okay? So it's commencing to drink after a period of sobriety. We are in a short time as bad as ever. If we are planning to stop drinking, there must be no reservation of any kind or any lurking notion that someday we'll be immune to alcohol. So that's the example there for us to understand, is that it's only going to be worse. It's never going to be okay, and it's never going to be something that I can handle. Okay. We will never be immune to alcohol. All right. So I'm going to go down to the last paragraph then on page 33. It says, to be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take the quantity some of us have. This is particularly true of women. Potential female alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years. So, just so without getting into medical stuff, that you ladies have a different chemistry in your body that doesn't allow you to break down the alcohol the way us men have. So men can break down alcohol and release it better than women can. Doesn't mean we can drink more than you. I know some women can drink you under the table. But it just means that our bodies release the alcohol better than a woman's body does. A woman's body will retain it more than a man's body. Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholics are astonished at their inability to stop. We're all familiar with the symptoms. We see large numbers of potential alcoholics among young people everywhere, but try to get them to see it. So, again, you have to remember that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and Alcoholics Anonymous itself, is their main purpose is for the potential alcoholic. Okay? Yes, it's for the alcoholic, it's for the real alcoholic, but the reason they got the steps and they went through this whole deal is, and the book tells us, so you don't have to get to the depths that they got to. So most of the people that come into AA are not real alcoholics. They've never reached that point. Okay? And that's okay, because that's what the program is made for. And that's what they're talking about here now, trying to get somebody to see that. See what he says here, as we look back, we feel we have gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our own willpower. So, I'm one of these people that I always thought, and I really believed it, I always thought that I could quit anytime I want to. I just don't want to. And then when I wanted to, I went, oops, I think I made a mistake. So if anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for 1 year. If he is a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there is a scant chance of success. In the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remain sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later. Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be a potential alcoholic. We think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry anything like a year. Some will be drunk the day after making the resolutions, most of them within a few weeks. For those who are unable to drink moderately, the question is how to stop altogether. We are assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. So Alcoholics Anonymous assumes that you want to stop. AA does make assumptions, and this is one of them. This assumption is that we believe you want to stop. Because, you know why? If the judge sent you here, or your wife, or your husband, or your mother, or your father, or somebody sent you here, the chances are very, very slim that that's enough to keep you here. Very slim. Remember back in the doctor's opinion, frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices, right? Whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. So how far has he gone into alcoholism? Many of us felt that we had plenty of character. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever, yet we found it impossible. This is the baffling feature of alcoholism as we know it. This utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. Now, if you're new, and you can't relate to that couple of sentences there, you might be in the wrong place. Let me read that again to you. Many of us felt we had plenty of character. Certainly a bunch of characters, huh? There was a tremendous urge to cease forever. I swear to God, I'm never going to do this again. Yet we found it impossible. It doesn't say we found it difficult or we found it hard. We find it impossible. This is the baffling feature of alcoholism as we know it. This utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. No matter how much you wish or want it or pray for it, we can't leave it alone. And if that describes you, then you're probably in the right place. And if you're working the steps on something other than alcohol and drugs, same thing applies. You know, shopping, gambling, sex, food, whatever, you know. Whatever you're working the steps on, you probably find it impossible to leave it alone. And even though you have plenty of character, you have a tremendous urge to not do it, you just can't. And that's the reason you're working the steps on whatever it is you're working the steps on. So he says, how then shall we help our readers determine to their own satisfaction whether they are one of us? The experiment of quitting for a period of time will be helpful, but we think we can render an even greater service to the alcoholic sufferers and perhaps to the medical fraternity. So we shall describe some of the mental states that precede a relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem. So they're asking themselves, how can they help an alcoholic believe he's an alcoholic? And today it's a little bit easier, I think, because we have so much research and experimentation behind us, right? So it's a little easier today to, you know, what I tell people when they ask me, I'm not sure if I'm alcoholic or not, I tell them, you know, we don't pronounce anybody, but you probably are. And they go, well, why do you say that? And because I don't know any normal person in the world that wakes up in the morning and goes, I wonder if I'm alcoholic. They're not alcoholic. They know they're not alcoholic, and there's no doubt in their mind, no question about it. They may drink one night and go, ooh, I drank too much, or I might have a problem with alcohol, and they won't drink again for 3 months. You know, but they're not, even through that, they're not saying, I wonder if I'm alcoholic. You know, they don't come to AA because they had a night out with their friends and they drank too much. So usually when somebody comes to Alcoholics Anonymous, it's some type of yell for help, with some type of scream for relief, even if it's not them that sends them here. Somebody thinks you have a problem. So there's something going on. And if you're not alcoholic, you know you're not, there's no question about it.
So you think everybody in AA is an alcoholic?
No, I think everybody in AA is a potential alcoholic. I think very few people in AA are real alcoholics. I think the percentage of people in Alcoholics Anonymous that are real alcoholics is probably 20% or less. But the only thing that matters is that you believe you are. So that's all that counts, you know. But we talked about this in the first or second week. We talked about that most of the people that are in AA don't actually work steps. You know, they might have worked steps when they got sober, you know, and now they've been sober 15, 20 years, and they haven't worked a damn step in 15, 20 years, right? And they're stark raving sober. And the reason that they can do that is because their life doesn't depend on it. Their life doesn't depend on taking the principles out of this book and putting them in their life. But the real alcoholic, he or she can't do that. They have to change who they are through the process of recovery. Does that make sense? And again, whatever you're working the steps on, you have to change who you are through the process of these steps, so you don't do what you don't want to do. Okay? And you know, we spend years doing what we don't want to do. That's the problem. You know, the normal person, occasionally, they don't want to screw up, they don't want to spend all their money, they don't want to get, you know, humiliate themselves, they don't want to do all those things, and occasionally they may, you know, from drinking too much, but they don't wonder if they're alcoholic when that happens. You know, and they don't seek to AA or recovery. So, but with us it's different. So by the time we get here, we probably cross that line. All right. So let's go to the second, we're on page 35, and we're on the second paragraph now. And again, these are, what are we reading in this chapter? We're reading examples of the insanity of alcoholism. Okay? And, hey, Jermaine is watching, Kelly.
Oh, good
Hi,
girl.
Jermaine. Our first example is a friend we shall call Jim. This man has a charming wife and family. He inherited a lucrative automobile agency. He had a commendable World War record. He's a good salesman. Everybody likes him. He's an intelligent man, normal so far as we can see, except for a nervous disposition. He did no drinking until he was 35. In a few years, he became so violent when intoxicated that he had to be committed. On leaving the asylum, he came into contact with us. We told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. He made a beginning. His family was reassembled and began to work as a salesman for the business he had lost through drinking. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. Now, let me just stop for a second there. Back on page, I think, well, I think I've shared with you already that there's two reasons why people go back out and relapse. Two reasons. And this is again true for no matter what you're working steps on. So the two reasons, okay? The two reasons people go back out are, one, they've never taken the first step, 100%. Our literature tells us the first step is the only step we have to do 100%. If that's the truth, don't you find it funny that the qualification that people get when they come to AA is, are you alcoholic? Yeah. Is your life unmanageable? Yeah. Okay. And that's about all they've done on step one. And that's insane if our literature is telling us that the first step has to be done 100%. That doesn't seem like anything qualifying near 100%. So the two reasons people go back out is, first, they haven't taken the first step 100%, and secondly, they failed to enlarge their spiritual life. So let's say someone has taken the first step 100%, and now they're 10 years sober. Well, what they did 10 years ago is not going to let them remain sober. They have to continuously grow their spiritual life. And if they don't, then they're in trouble. Remember in There Is a Solution, we came to that paragraph where it talked about on page 25, the second paragraph, it says, "The great fact is just this and nothing less, that we have had deep and effective spiritual experiences." Remember we talked about that? And we said that it's plural for a reason. Because there's no experience, spiritual or otherwise, that's going to allow us to stay sober forever. No matter how powerful the spiritual experience you had or have, it may be good to keep you sober for a little bit, but it'll never keep you sober forever. So therefore, you have to keep getting them. And again, the same thing holds true for whatever you're working the steps on. So we overcome the insanity of alcohol or drugs or food or sex or shopping or whatever it is, but we don't continuously get spiritual experiences. We fail to enlarge our spiritual life. And if we fail to enlarge our spiritual life, our old self catches up to us, and we drink again, or we shop again, or we do the deviant things that we know we shouldn't be doing. Did you have a question, Melissa? Oh, okay. All right. So does that make sense to you guys? So, back to the bottom, page 35. His consternation, he found himself drunk half dozen times in rapid succession. On each of these occasions, we worked with him, reviewing carefully what had happened. He agreed he was a real alcoholic and in serious condition. He knew he faced another trip to the asylum if he kept on. Moreover, he would lose his family, for whom he had a deep affection. Yet he got drunk again. So listen, don't ruin this for the other people, those of you who have done this. But I want everybody to take a minute and read these next two paragraphs. And as you read them, I want you to mark in your book, make note of all the red flags that you come across, if you come across any.
Starting with his quote?
Yeah, starting with over here, he says, this is his story. And from there, see if you have any red flags that Jim should have been aware of. See if you can catch a red flag or two in that paragraph or so. I'll just take a minute and let you guys do that. Stanley, Stan the man, what's up, pal? So you're going to read to the point till after he takes a drink, right? So now, be aware of something. That Jim didn't have the experience of 60 years of Alcoholics Anonymous, or 70 years of whatever is going on, how long we've been around today. And he didn't have the experience of meetings and all these kind of things that we have today, that you have at your disposal, including and especially this class. Okay? He didn't have all of those things. So us, we shouldn't fall prey to what Jim fell prey to. So how many, raise your hands, how many people found 3 red flags? Anybody more? How many did you find?
1, 2, 8.
Hold on.
1, 2.
We're doing hand raising, not yelling out.
I found 4.
You found 4? Okay. How many you found?
4.
4? You found 8? Okay.
I found 6.
You found 6. 5. Okay. There's about 15 here. We're gonna go over them, okay? Because again, we should be aware of them. So let's start here. So Jim says, I came to work Tuesday morning. Now, I've argued with a lot of people over the years that is not one of them. But they say, well, what happened to Monday? It's very feasible that Monday was a normal day, okay? And he just came to work and nothing happened on Monday. But, just for the benefit of not arguing with you, I'm gonna grant you that one, okay? So that's number one. So when I read, tell me to stop if I come across one. I remember I felt irritated. Why? Irritated, okay. That I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned.
Stop.
Why? Huh?
It's a resentment.
Yeah.
Well, he felt irritated, that's the resentment, right?
Yeah.
So why is this other one? So I felt irritated to be number 2. But I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned.
You had to be a salesman for someplace he owned.
What do you call that?
Ego.
Well, it's affecting his ego, but there's a word for it. Huh?
Like, why can't we think of the word?
A grudge.
He's justifying his anger. And that is a red flag for people like us. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's 3. You know, he's saying to himself, I used to own this place. Now I'm a freaking salesman? I'm justified to be angry. I had a few words with the boss. Yes. You know, we don't have words with the boss. That's the problem. Just the word boss explains it. So I had a few words with the boss, that's number 4, but nothing serious. What do you call that?
Justifying anger.
It's minimizing. It's minimizing, okay? And you know, I won't say it's not justifying, but I think minimizing is a better word.
Yeah.
He's minimizing. I had a few words with the boss, but nothing serious. You know, just that you have words with the boss is a problem, right? So I think that's 5, right?
Yeah.
Then I decided to drive into the country and see.
I would say stop.
Oh, I was waiting for a stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Why?
thought I was waiting for someone to stop.
See, I don't think that, but I like to.
Rather self-will.
Well-
Self-will or you make-
Well, he comes into work, he's irritated, he has some words with the boss, and now he's isolating. He's in his car, and he's driving in the country. He's isolating.
Sure, I would also say that like he's leaving a place that he knows where there's no alcohol and he's going out into the unknown where there could be, that he could get it. At
Well,
any
even
point.
worse than that, he's actually going to a place where
Yeah,
there
but
is
like,
no.
at this point we don't know that yet, but at this point
Yeah.
he's leaving the place where like he's not
Yeah,
drinking and.
but he's
could go
being
and-
by himself. And we know when we're irritated and angry, we should talk to somebody. That we shouldn't be by ourselves, because when you're by yourself, you multiply the emotions and the feelings. And if they're negative, you multiply them, and it's not good. So I've lost count, but that's whoever's counting. Okay. So then I decided to drive into the country and see one of my prospects for a car. 7. That's more justification. I'm okay to be by myself because I'm going for a reason. On the way, I felt hungry. 8. Don't get too hungry, angry,
You're a
lonely,
liar.
tired.
You're tired.
Halt, right? Don't get hungry. I don't know about you people, but I have a chemical imbalance. If I'm hungry, I get a little nasty.
Angry.
On the way, I felt hungry, so I stopped at a roadside place where they have a bar. Ding, 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 ding. That's a big red flag, right?
Don't stop, Nick.
Yeah. That's a big one. That one's obvious, right? You know, the old thing in AA is if you keep going to barber shop, eventually you're going to get a haircut, right? So. I had no intention of drinking. What do you call that?
Thinking.
Delusional?
It's denial. Yeah, it's delusional. Yeah, it is. But it's called denial. Denial is don't even notice I am lying. That's how you spell denial. Don't even notice I'm lying.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm in denial. I had no intention of drinking. I don't know how many that is. I just thought I would get a sandwich.
Stop.
Yeah, that's justification. To be in the wrong place at the wrong time, to justify that is another red flag. I also had the notion I might find a customer,
Stop.
more bullshit, for a car at this place which was familiar, for I've been going to it for years.
Stop.
And how about changing people, places, and things?
Yeah.
Okay? So I don't know how many we're at already.
13.
I had eaten there many times during the months I was sober.
Stop.
Yeah, so he kept going to this bar. I'm not sure he was sharing that with anybody. But now he's in a perfect frame of mind to be in this place, to take a drink. It's like me thinking, you know, I'm just going to stop by the crack house because I know they miss me in there, you know. I'm just going to say hi.
I ain't gonna say long.
I sat down at the table and ordered a sandwich and a glass of milk. That is the only sentence in this paragraph that has no red flags, okay? And there's one more to come. Still no thought of drinking. More denial. And again, the last sentence that has no. I ordered a sandwich, another sandwich, and decided to have another glass of milk.
That's a red flag, because you're saying
Suddenly,
Yeah. There
the
it is.
thought crossed my mind that if I were to put an ounce of whiskey in my milk, it couldn't hurt me on a full stomach.
Dead.
That would be
That's a hard
15, I
stop.
think.
16.
16, okay. So, I said to you last week or the week before, I said to you that if you stay here and we finish this together, that when we get through the first step, you will know the truth about yourself. And once you know the truth about yourself, it's impossible to drink or use on that truth. It's impossible. You'll never be able to drink or use or whatever it is you're working the first step on once you understand the truth about yourself through a good first step. If you do a good first step, you'll understand the truth about yourself. You'll never be able to drink or use or gamble or overeat or any of that stuff that you're working on the truth. The only way you'll be able to do that is to block yourself off from the truth and buy some insane lie. And Jim just went through 16 insane lies and completely blocked himself off from the truth way before he left the car dealership. But Jim's not aware of those things back in those days with that happening. But we are. We have all of this knowledge that's available to us that we have to tap into, that we have to share with the newcomer, that we have to help them understand what we're dealing with. This is not about, are you powerless over alcohol? Yeah. Is your life unmanageable? Yeah. It's so much deeper than that. So he says, and I love the irony in this, right? I ordered a whiskey and poured it into the milk. I vaguely sensed I was not being any too smart, but felt reassured as I was taking the whiskey on a full stomach. So you see, he's completely blocked off from the truth now, because on the page before this, he said he knew, he agreed he was a real alcoholic and in serious condition. Remember? Just said that one paragraph ago. On the bottom of page 35, he says, he agreed he was a real alcoholic and in a serious condition. But now, he's totally blocked off from the truth. He's totally blocked off from the truth. He's got no connection with God right now. That's why it's so important what we're going to do in the next step is make a relationship with God that works for us, because only God has the ability to see the truth, the whole truth, and not but the truth. We can't. And because we can't, we need to tap into that power that's God. And we stay locked into the truth. So Jim at this point is not in the truth anymore. He's in some insane thing, and here's the lies that he's buying, even though he vaguely sensed that he was not being any too smart.
When
No, this is this is in hindsight. This is in hindsight. They're telling the story. And his name's not Jim, but they changed the name to protect the guilty. No. The experiment went so well that I ordered another whiskey and poured it into some more milk. That didn't seem to bother me, so I tried again. So we all know what happens now. We're going to have to waste time talking about it. Jim's off to the races, and he's in a lot of trouble. And look what he says here. Here was the dread of commitment, the loss of family and position, to say nothing of the intense mental and physical suffering which drink always caused him. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, yet all reason for not drinking were easily pushed aside in favor of the foolish idea that he could take whiskey if he only mixed it with milk. That can only happen to you when you are completely shut off from the truth. And if I'm trying to do this thing on my own power, I will get to a point where I'm going to be completely blocked off from the truth. That's why it's imperative in the next step we make a relationship with God. If you think you can do this deal without a God, you're fooling yourself. So he says, whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plain insanity. How can such a lack of proportion of the inability to think straight be called anything else? Now that's a powerful example of being blocked off from the truth. And again, as we read this, as you study this, you need to try to put your own experiences to a story like this. So look what he says here. He says, you may think this is an extreme case. To us, it is not far-fetched. For this kind of thinking has been characteristic of every single one of us. What? Not you, you say? So, far from the fact that this is not an extreme case, this has been characteristic of every one of you. Every one of you. Not most of you, not some of you. He clearly says, every one of you. We have sometimes reflected more than Jim did upon the consequences, but there was always the curious mental phenomenon that parallel with our sound reasoning, there inevitably ran some insanely trivial excuse for taking the first drink. Our sound reasoning failed to hold us in check. The insane idea went out. Now, we said that last week or the week before. We were talking about our sound reasoning and the disease running parallel, right? And we talked about that the disease will always outweigh the sound reasoning. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, well, if the disease will always outweigh the sound reasoning, what chance do I have at staying sober? Well, yeah, but you just can't put everything on God. There's work that you have to do. But the good news is this. This is for somebody that's new. If you get sober and continuously grow spiritually, instead of like the other guy failed to enlarge his spiritual life, and you continuously grow spiritually, then your sound thinking will be okay. Because what you'll do, you won't buy any of those lies that Jim just bought. You won't get in the car and isolate and drive up to the country by yourself when you're pissed off. You'll get on the phone or you'll go see somebody, you call your sponsor, you talk to a recovering member, you get on your knees and you ask God for some help. He didn't do any of this stuff. He didn't use any of the tools available to him. But we can, once we recognize that we're in shitty thinking, we can change that by using the tools available to us. So once you get sober and you're on the spiritual beam and you're growing spiritually, then your sound thinking will help you. So you're not stuck in this terrible rut forever, but you have to realize that for now, and the newcomer, their sound thinking will never be as powerful as the disease. The disease is powerful, I am powerless. Why? Because it makes me do it when I don't want to do it. Even when I swear to God I'm never going to do it again, it makes me do it anyway. The disease is powerful. The disease is always going to be more powerful than your sound thinking. The disease will always be more powerful than your sane thinking.
Is it insane thinking? Is what you're
Huh?
saying? Insane thinking, the disease is more powerful than
The disease is more powerful than your sane thinking.
insane thinking.
Not insane, you're sane. Your sane thinking.
So would you think that just over time, we're just kind of retraining our brain, right, by constantly doing these things to stay spiritually fit and all that, and not getting spun out to follow being mad at this and mad at that, and progressively getting mad and then twisting off. So I guess over time you're retraining your brain to make the better decisions. Is that what you would say?
That's what recovery is all about. Recovery is about helping you to make healthy decisions in your life.
And you think that the more we do that, then the easier it becomes, right?
My problem is not alcohol anymore. I'm not having a problem with alcohol. I haven't had a drink in over 28 years.
Right.
I haven't had any drugs in over 28 years. I don't have a problem with that today, but I've got some problems. We're not talking cure here, okay? So it's about our thinking. So recovery is about giving us the ability to make healthy decisions for ourselves in all aspects, in all areas of our life. Yeah, it's all about change. We talked about that last week. We were reading that one paragraph. It was all about change. Okay. So where were we here then?
In some circumstances.
Okay, so are we at the second paragraph? You may think this is an extreme case.
In some circumstances.
In some circumstances, we have gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. Those are all great feelings that, if we're not aware of those being red flags, we're going to react to them, Yeah. But even in this type of beginning, we are obliged to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient in the light of what always happens. We now see that when we began to drink deliberately instead of casually, there was little serious or effective thought during the period of premeditation of what the terrific consequences might be. So now he says, our behavior is as absurd and incomprehensible with respect to the first drink as that of an individual with a passion saying for jaywalking. Now I got to tell you, the first time I ever read this, I thought, what an asshole this guy is. This is the stupidest thing I ever read in my life. It's ridiculous. He gets a thrill out of skipping in front of fast-moving vehicles. He enjoys himself for a few years in spite of friendly warnings. Up to this point, you would label him as a foolish chap with having queer ideas of fun. Luck then deserts him, and he is slightly injured several times in succession. You would expect him, if he were normal, to cut it out. Presently, he is hit again, and this time has a fractured skull. Within a week after leaving the hospital, a fast-moving trolley car breaks his arm. He tells you he's decided to stop jaywalking for good, but in a few weeks, he breaks both legs. Idiot, right? On through the years, this conduct continues, accompanied by his continual promises to be careful or keep off the streets altogether. Finally, he can no longer work, his wife gets a divorce, and he's held up to ridicule. He tries every known means to get the jaywalking idea out of his head. He shuts himself up in the asylum, hoping to mend his way, but the day he comes out, he races in front of a fire engine, which breaks his back. such a man would be crazy, wouldn't he? And I'm going to myself, I'm saying to myself, I don't even know if I want to read any more of this book. Because this is so ridiculous. The guy's such an asshole. How could anybody be so stupid? Right? And I really paused at this point that maybe I'm not in the right place, because alcohol's not, it's a little screwy. All right? If this is what they're talking about, this is a little screwy. And when you read the next paragraph, you get hooked. Hook, line, and sinker. He says, you may think our illustration is too ridiculous, but is it? We who have been through the ringer have to admit if we substituted alcoholism for jaywalking, the illustration would fit us exactly. Exactly. However intelligent we may have been in other respects, where alcohol has been involved, we have been strangely insane. That Debbie is an able, intelligent, friendly kind of person, but when it comes to wood-burning stoves, she ain't got a damn bit of sense. It's strong language, but isn't it true? And when you read that paragraph, then you go, oh my God, he's right. It just puts it all together in the right perspective. That wow, this is how insane my life had been. Some of you are thinking, yes, what you tell us is true, but it doesn't fully apply. We admit we have some of these symptoms, but we've not gone to the extremes you fellows did, nor are we likely to, for we understand ourselves so well after what you have told us that such things cannot happen again. We have not lost everything in life through drinking, and we certainly do not intend to. Thanks for the information.
See you later.
So, and look what he says here. This is real important. He says, this may be true of certain non-alcoholic people who, though drinking foolishly and heavily at present time, are able to stop or moderate because their brains and bodies have not been damaged as ours were. Talking about, again, it's really powerful when you realize that they wrote this and they printed this in 1939. It came out, and what they're saying here was medically proven in 1976. But the actual or potential alcoholic, with hardly an exception, will absolutely, and this is all squiggly writing here, right? Will be absolutely unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. And now you're going to come to some of the harshest words that they have in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. In fact, I can't recall anywhere else in the book that the words are as harsh as this. He says, this is a point we wish to emphasize and re-emphasize, to smash home upon our alcoholic readers as it has been revealed to us out of bitter experience. So we want to emphasize this, we want to re-emphasize this, and we want to smash it upon you. What are we talking about? Self-knowledge. You'll be absolutely unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. You'll be absolutely unable to stop gambling or slutting around or overeating or whatever you're working the steps on the basis of self-knowledge. Slutting around is real. Slutting around is very real.
Just the way you put it. Please, I'll sponsor girls, please.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me.
I mean, I was slutting around while I was overeating and shopping. But I gave up drinking and drugs. But the importance here is realizing what we're talking about here. We're talking about the basis of self-knowledge means shit. Don't mean anything for you here. All that I know about this book, and I know much about this book and about this program, all that I know means absolutely nothing if I don't apply this in my life. So we want to emphasize this point, we want to re-emphasize this point, and we want to smash it home upon our alcoholic readers. Very important. Okay, we got 4 minutes left. I don't want to get into Fred's story. So who's got any questions? Let's just take some questions for the next few minutes. Questions about anything we've covered so far, or questions about something that maybe we haven't covered yet? Who's got a question about anything? Recovery, steps, sponsorship. Nobody's got a question? No questions at all? Yes.
Well, I went to like the Mayfair in club on Tuesday night, and they told me like I should start step 10, like just start it because it's an app for it and do inventories every day, even when we first start recovery.
They told you to start on step 10?
Yeah, just do inventories every night, just get used to it. I don't know if that's. I was like, let me ask someone else.
What is your sponsor told you?
I haven't asked her yet.
Sponsor, I haven't heard anything about
I just talked to her just now because it came up. I haven't talked to her about it too, but I was just like, well, let me just see.
Yeah, that's the problem. You know, we hear some crazy things in the room. Oh, wait a minute, you got a call?
No,
We hear some crazy things in the room, you know, they tell us, you know, you could borrow from step 11, you know. Listen, what I tell people is, you've borrowed everything you borrowed already before you got here. Let's start on step 1 and worry about step 10 when you get there. Because see, they put the emphasis on and focus on steps other than the step that you should be on. And that's why we miss. We're on week 7 and we're still on step 1. So I don't know anybody that ever sat down with their sponsor 7 weeks in a row and never got past step 1. But, so, we are going in depth and we're learning things and we're going over stuff that many people have read and many times over the years and we're talking about it and we're learning what we pass on to the next person. And the most important thing is, you know, if you got to count to 12, you don't start with 10, do you? You start with number 1.
That's a good question. If you're hearing that kind of shit, I'm like, yeah.
Where'd you learn the acronym for denial?
I don't remember.
I've heard that.
I don't remember. Been too many years. Man. Don't even notice I'm lying.
Probably old, what's his name?
Mickey Bush.
Mickey.
Probably Mickey Bush. He's the acronym king.
I guess I have a question on those.
And I flew to England on a plane with him one time. Oh, I heard them all the way across the pond.
So, I mean, I've heard so many different things, like I've heard that, go ahead and do 10, 11, and 12, you know what I mean? I've heard that a lot. And, I mean, because we're supposed to pray every day, right? So in the morning we pray, and at night we pray, so, and then just showing up at meetings and call 2 people a day, I mean, that's 12-step work. And praying, and when are we supposed to do the upon awakening? And
When you get there.
so just don't.
When you get there. You know, there's, if they wanted you to do that at the beginning, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but whatever energy you're focusing on that, you should be focusing on the first step.
Okay.
So the energy that you're focusing on that, you cannot focus on this first step because you're focusing on something else. And your energy should be focused on the first step. And calling 2 people a day, you know, that's all crazy stuff, you know. That's not in our program. That's, you know, if it makes you feel happy, call 22 people a day. But, you know, the thing is, you know, what do you know about praying? You know, what do you know about praying? Somebody brand new is probably going to pray for stuff, you know, like they're talking to Santa Claus, you know? A wish list of things that they want. So, and first you have to find out, you know, who you are. And that's why the program has 12 steps. And you start with 1 and you do them all. And when you get to that point, you're a different person. And, but, you know, I mean, if you need to throw a prayer in here or there, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But to do that on a regular basis when you should be doing the first step is not correct.
I don't think it's bad in meetings though to greet the newcomer. I think there's things to do, you know, if you need to be sponsored or anything, but to pick a girl up is, you know, and thinking of,
Yeah, we'll talk about all that when we get to the 12th step, but, you know, those are, if you're gonna give directions to somebody, give the directions that are in the book. The reason why people don't give you the directions that are in the book, they don't understand them.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I've been here
No,
all the
I'm
time,
just
and I
saying,
don't understand it.
if I understand these directions and I'm gonna work with somebody new, I got plenty for them to do. That comes right out of here.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with calling anybody or praying. You know,
Okay.
but, all right, guys, thanks. See you next week, same time, same channel.